All right, hey, welcome to class number 3, Future Leader Style. And I can tell you right now, today is going to be an unbelievable class. We're going to be talking everything about building rapport and connection. You know, it's one of my favorite topics is how to go out and build rapport and connect with somebody through conversation. So today we're going to get that going, but hopefully over the last couple of classes, you've taken some really, really good notes from us being together at national training to us talking last time about the 10 things that we know to be true, right? All of those different types of things. Hopefully you got your top 10 skills all filled out that came to you over the weekend to make sure that you're filling out. How are you feeling about your parties? How are you feeling about going out there and booking? How are you feeling about your sales right now? All of those things are hugely important. And in today's class, I'll also be bringing in Cheryl Forrest, our Senior Vice President of Sales and Training, to talk a little bit about rapport, because it's going to talk about how we do in the shopping room. What are we doing when we're talking to people? How are we always staying in rapport with our customers? Now, a couple of things I want to make sure that you get focused on. You know, we talked a lot about our communication techniques and becoming a savvy conversationalist in class 2. 3, this is going to be a lot more of the same, but how to really kind of implement it. This is the real life stuff that we're talking about. And also, communication is simply an act of transferring information from one person to another person, you know, whether it's vocabulary, whether it's written, or whether it's our body language, which we'll talk a lot about today. So let's boil down kind of our skill sets here as a pure romance consultant. So let's keep it simple, right? The simplest that we can keep this is we've got to go out there and we've got to talk to people. But as we're talking to people, communication is the things that we're going to go out there and plant in people's minds, our guests, our customers, our team members. All of the things that we do each and every day. But communication really always does follow the 4 C's, right? Number 1, you got to be clear. You got to make sure that you're delivering a very clear, concise, number 2, message. That's important. So when you sometimes slow down, you know, it's kind of like I talk to people all the time, like, you know, what's the number 1 tool I could tell people that I've learned over the years as being a leader? 1 is the more you kind of pause yourself, the more you slow yourself down, the clearer that you can talk, the more people will understand and they'll act on your direction. Now, you know, you think about this. Jim Rome said in one of his speeches one time, he goes, you know, you think about this. It takes you an hour to talk about something that should take 15 minutes, and something that takes 15 minutes should only take you something that takes 2 minutes to explain. You got to get it down to the lowest common denominator. You got to think about how you talk to your kids. You know, your kids, you start having a conversation. Are you done yet, Mom? It's like when you're in the car, are we there yet? Think about Jesus Christ, right? Jesus Christ would say, hey, you over there, come follow me. Do you think that was pretty clear and concise? I think it was. And the simpler we can make things, the easier it is for people to understand what we're asking of them, or what we're selling them, or what we're explaining to them. The number 3 is credibility. Credibility is so important, right? It's another thing. You got to have credibility. Where credibility comes from is it's becoming a student. It's by understanding what it is that you sell, your product lines. Are you credible with your words that you're telling people? What is it that you're delivering? Important, all right? And then the last and most and final thing, I always say the person that wins the most is the one that is the most confident. Are you delivering your communication with confidence? Do you feel like you could back up the stats on your lubricants? Do you feel like you could back up your information that you're going to give somebody on something on a massage product? Whatever it might be, we've got to understand that confidence is the key to this. When I talk to consultants that have been doing this for some period of time, if you're going to see them on the board or President's Club or some of our leadership in the organization, the one thing that they always say is what Pure Romance has done for them is giving them a very, very, very big level of confidence in themselves as a communicator. And that's one of the key things that's going to be in your leadership journey is how do you make sure you're communicating, all right? So let's take a moment to reflect on your Pure Romance commercial. How you ask for party bookings. What do you say when you're offering the opportunity to leads? Now think about how you communicate with your team and your upline, right? So how are you communicating? So if you think about this, you know, some of you guys, when you think about your 30-second commercial or your Pure Romance commercial, right? How are you delivering that? Are you clear, concise? Are you confident? Do you give all those 4 C's, which are important, and throwing a little bit of that credibility in the mix? So when you're delivering that, and same thing with your team, are you clear of what your expectations are? And some of you guys are going, well, Chris, I haven't built my team. Okay, great, that's why we're here, right? This is called future leaders. Think about how you're going to get clear, because the biggest thing is you have to have clarity on what you want first, right? That's always the most important. I know that, you know, we as leaders have to serve others, and it's important, but if I don't know what direction that we're heading at in a company, how does my team follow me? And if I can't clearly architect that or articulate that, how do they know what to do? And if I'm not confident about the direction that we're going as an organization, can you imagine? We'd have mutiny. There'd be people going and doing all different things. You have to be confident that this is the right way. And your credibility is such. Where did you get your information? You attended things like Future Leader, you attended world conferences, national trainings, bus tours, whatever it might be. That's how you're going to build up that credibility. And you're going to also build up the credibility by acting the way that people want to be led. They want to be led by somebody that's going to stand by their word. There's a lot of things that I've done in business that I have, I've done them. I wish that, I wouldn't have agreed to them, but I agreed to them and I stood the course even when it cost me money. Even when it cost me a lot of money, but I stood towards those. And that's the thing, having credibility. The other thing is, do you cover off all 4 C's in your communication, or do you find yourself jumping around, right? You got to make sure that you're figuring out how to make your commercial, how you talk to your team, how do you make sure that you're not going in 19 different directions. I sat in a meeting the other day, and I was with a bunch of different CEOs. And I felt like I was all over the board. Somebody was leading this conversation. Were we voting on this? Or were we voting on that? I had no idea. So what happens is when people don't have a clear understanding of what you're asking from them or what you're trying to get across to them, what happens is a frustration level starts coming over because they feel inadequate. They don't feel like they're understanding the tasks at our hand. They don't understand what's being asked of them to deliver back. And everybody wants to be able to deliver back. Everybody wants to be able to take part in something. But if you're not clear on what you're supposed to be doing, it does set a little bit of this antsiness or anxiety, and it triggers people. And so therefore, you've got to make sure that you're thinking about this. One of the biggest things that I will tell you as a 30-second commercial or a party is, how about recording yourself? Like you're watching me right now on this video. And what I will tell you is it's not very fun. It's not the best, but I have to go back and watch myself. In my earlier career, I used to study the films all the time. I've also hired people to work with me, right? Like I used to be a caged panther where I'd be walking around the stage and doing that. Now on my talks, large talks, I'll do that. But when I'm talking to you, or doing a party or whatever, I have to understand, I want to make sure that I'm giving the message. And hands aren't all like doing this where you're all following my hands and I'm jumping all over the board. I got to make sure that I'm very consistent. So therefore, one of the things I did in my early career is watch those films. And what I always tell people is this: I don't want people to go back and go, gosh, you should have saw Chris like 10 years ago. And oh my gosh, he was so great and he was so wonderful. Like some people will say that about your parties. Like your parties were so good. Those are awesome. What about how were you 10 days ago? I want them to go, gosh, you should see Chris now. I mean, he's even better than he was. The reason is that's development. That's growth. We got to continue to keep growing. And even as a leader, people that I led 10 years ago, I hope that, they're like, man, he was aggressive. He was this, he was that. But what is he like today? Man, I want people to go, man, he's even more aggressive. He's even more, dialed in. His vocabulary is different. He understands that vocabulary is huge in today's world, right? That vocabulary is something that I would talk to a lot of people. That's your lens and how you see the world. It's true. Working on your vocabulary each and every day. That's how you're going to be a better communicator. That's how you're going to make sure you go out and be clear and concise, credible, and also with that confidence. Okay, we also think about connection by having heart-to-heart talks and where we should share our deepest thoughts. Making connections doesn't have to go that deep. I'm not always sharing my deepest and darkest secrets, my biggest things that I want to do in my life. No, I mean, it's not about that connection. It can happen so quickly if you know the keys to connection, if you know how to understand what you're trying to get from the conversation. One of the biggest things about connection, too, that I see too many people not taking advantage of, and that's remembering somebody's name. It's unbelievable to me. Unbelievable. How you can't remember somebody's name that you just walked up and talked to 5 seconds ago. Because too many people were worried about themselves. That's the number one change that we're going to have to start making in connection. Because I'll go into markets all across the United States. I'll go across the pond. I'll go to the international markets. We'll do the same thing. And too many people are worried about saying the right thing because they haven't practiced enough. They haven't practiced enough. These are things that will help you. And that's what I'm telling you with the Future Leader course, why you signed up for this is you want the real deal Holyfield, how to grow your business. Connecting with others can be as simple as complimenting a stranger, smiling at somebody, sharing a joke, being able to calling a friend, a family member, team member, whatever it might be in your side of your community. Those are going to be things that you're going to have to understand that you're going to be able to do pretty quickly because it's going to break down communication right now. We're going to do that here. Because I know some of you have sat through this class with me or you've come to bus tours or you heard this, but I really kind of want to dive into the scientific piece of understanding communication. Now, communication is, if you think about a pie chart and you look at it as a 100% pie chart, right? Like here is really what people have to understand about communication. Most people think it's the words that they say, right? And if you look at that word as 7%, you look at tonality. Tonality is what I'm doing right now. I'm changing my pace. I'm not just talking at one level all the time. I'm up and down. You got to take people on a journey. They have to understand what's going on. What are those points that you want to hit? What is it that you're excited about? And then your body, your physiology. Like, are you excited? Do you walk in like this? Are you slunched over? How do you communicate when you walk in a room? Are you smiling? Are you angelic? And those are the things that when we really sit back about communication, most people think they have to have all the right answers and all the right words. What you're going to see is this, is 7% of it is communication. You have to understand the key words. You got to go and watch the things on YouTube. You got to watch the things that we're doing, inside of Pure Romance, attending national trainings, picking up good demos. Those will help you. Key words you could be using when you're talking to somebody about the business opportunity or somebody that wants to book a party. How do you overcome objections? Those are things that words and phrases are going to help you with. That's going to be scripting. Those pieces are going to be good, and you're going to want to know that, and you're going to want to study that. Content chunks, right? What you think about tonality? Tonality is pitch. You ever get that person that just, talks like this the entire time and doesn't change the voice, and they're just really fast, and they don't slow down? Tonality is your inflection. Tonality is your speed. Tonality is also talking about what we talked about at national training. Sometimes you have to have a little dead air. It's okay. People are processing as you're talking. You don't have to just speed through things just to get done. Take your time. That's one thing I've learned is if you look at me 10 years ago speaking to today speaking, what I figured is I was trying to jam all this content. I was like, they gotta have this, they gotta have this, they gotta have this in an hour talk. And so I was like the micro machine guy or the guy you see on Saturday morning cartoons and talk as fast as I can, as fast as I can, as fast as I can, because I gotta get all this information, I gotta get everything to them. To where today I've kind of understood, or starting to understand, I could still give them all that information, delivering in a different way, delivering it in story form, delivering it in ways that slowing down, let the brain process, let the subconscious be able to really kind of take things in. A little bit different. Tonality. Body, your physiology, right? Your posturing, your gesturing, your different things that can come out. Like this right here, your hands, these babies got to be in control. I mean, I see so many people that talk and they're like, I'm Italian, this is how I talk, and this is what's going on. And Al, hey, Chris, hey, Tony, hey, what you doing? No. Can I tell you something? That right here, that's also annoying. So you got to watch. Some people are like, I talk with my hands. Like, okay, if you talk with your hands. I used to do that all the time. I had that nervous twitch where I would be throwing my hands up and doing all kinds. And if I'm making a point, I'm like, it's so big. That's a different way of gesturing. Then just going, hey, listen, I love what we're doing here. It's a fantastic. Pure Romance is having so much fun today. Posture. When you're walking in, right? Are your shoulders back? Do people look at you like, hey, look, this woman looks confident. She looks like she's a rock star. She's coming in. And right away, you could have had something happen to you all day that maybe doesn't make you feel as great, but you still got to get up and perform. You're a business owner. Remember, you're the rainmaker. You're the CEO of your own company. You have to choose it. That's the posture. Taking deep breaths. Breathing, making sure that you're understanding and then being in control. That's some of the coolest things when you think about how we communicate. Now, what I'll tell you is this. It will be a period of time you'll master this. I've been doing this 19 years. This is not something that, is easily done. It can be easily done when you know, but I've had to educate and bring people in like we're doing with you and try to explain some of this. And we're sharing that knowledge bank that we've been able to learn over 20 years about being the best version of yourself as far as leadership, right? And that's the stuff that we want to help you fast track. That's important. Now, we use a big word in communication that we talked about today to start off with. That's rapport. Okay, rapport is a pretty big word. And rapport I always ask people, do you understand what rapport is? And the term is used to describe, in common terms, a relationship of two or more people who are in sync or on the same wavelength because they feel similar and they relate well to each other. Okay, so when you think about rapport, it's basically having two people in sync. It's almost like when you're watching some like ice skating, or you're watching, Dancing with the Stars, and you see, oh my gosh, those two people are in very, very good rapport. They are in communication with their body language. There's nothing being said verbally. It's not that they're having this conversation, it's just that their body is so much in alignment with each other, they can almost anticipate the next move that somebody is gonna have. Rapport is also used in building relationships with others really, really quickly, okay? And also to gain their trust and gain confidence. Now, the reason that you should know some of these things is because as a leader and as a business owner, sometimes you're not given that much time to close a deal or that much time to talk to somebody about some of their issues or some of the things that are going on. This is going to give you some techniques and tools to be able to think about your next conversation, the next time that you sit down with somebody that's at a party or somebody wants to join the business. How do you go and you slow down and you think about how to get in rapport with somebody? Establishing rapport by matching and mirroring. See, in a second, I'm going to have Cheryl Force come in here, our Senior Vice President of Sales and Training. And matching and mirroring is an element of a person's behavior during the communications, such as the physiology and tonality. Together, these two elements are comprised of about 93% of our communication, all right? So when we think about our tonality, okay, how we our reflection, our inflection of our voice, and also how our body language is, that's 93% of how we're gonna be able to communicate. And the other 7 is what? Yep, you got it, words. So let's talk about this, matching and mirroring. So I'm gonna bring Cheryl Force up here. So Cheryl, could you come on up here? All right, hey, welcome Cheryl Force. How you doing?
Fantastic, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. So Cheryl, matching and mirroring, building rapport. I know this is something that we talk about from shopping room to party to all types of different ways. 30-second commercial, sitting down with somebody, talking about the business. Let's kind of describe a little bit to everybody watching, what does it mean to be matching and mirroring?
Well, so here's my thing, and it's one of my favorite topics. When you talk about communication, it's such a broad, huge conversation, right? Like, we're always trying to become better communicators. But with these tools, we accelerate that process that you can build rapport.
Yeah.
So think about it this way. Do you ever meet somebody for the very first time and you just felt like you may have known them? And then you think, I may have known this person in a past life, right?
Yeah.
Well, some things are subtly happening between the two of you that's helping to build rapport.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
So you feel like an akinness or a likeness to that person so much faster than maybe somebody that you might not like so much.
Yeah, I've been in those conversations.
It's like pulling teeth. Like, you go through every piece of small talk and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't talk about the weather. I can't talk about what they do for work. I can't talk about whether they have kids or not, right? Anymore, because the conversation is painful.
Yeah.
So matching and mirroring is an actual technique that you can use to build rapport with somebody very quickly.
Got it, okay.
And this can work in any situation, and I always suggest with people that they start with their family members first.
Yeah. Yep.
But you and I are masters at this.
We have practiced this several times.
Right.
Yeah.
And we will tend to fall into a natural rapport, but every once in a while I get very intentional. I'll check your body language, or I can see you're checking my body language, and we will be in meetings sitting in the exact same position, because we're doing it innately, naturally now. But in the beginning, it felt like
it felt awkward. It felt really, you feel like you're awkward, but what happens is, it allows you to be in rapport. So you kind of basically stop the whole force field that's in front of people. They're more open to listening and more open to understanding what's kind of going on, which allows the subconscious to really kind of digest the information that's coming in quickly. Would you agree?
Oh, completely. So you touched on tonality earlier, and that's a key component because you want your rate of speech to be similar to that other person, and you want your tone to be the same. Look, it's not the words, right? That's only 7% of how we communicate. So let's say I walked into a party and I was like, I'm really excited to be here tonight.
You don't seem really excited.
No, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because the tone of my voice was down, my body language was down. Everything was saying that although my words, I'm very excited to be here tonight, were saying one thing, everything else about me was saying something different. And I think about when you hit a room, right? What do you usually do?
Woo! Let's go, baby! I'm ready.
You explode into a room because you want to get people's attention and you want to be like, oh, this is exciting. I need to perk up. I need to listen to this.
This is the time. We got to get the,
Right, exactly, right? So you're building rapport in a different way in front of an audience. So let's talk about the tactical matching and marrying. Likes like, right? So we tend to gravitate to people that are like us. We tend to like to spend time with people that are like us. But we can't always control that in a party or business or sometimes even with family. Right? You really can't choose your family, can you, right?
No, you can't. I'm attesting to that.
Yeah, and even sometimes we fall out of rapport with our children.
Yeah.
So we can talk about how you can get back in
I've
rapport
got
with your kids.
masterful things. If you're a mom watching today about how to get in rapport with your kids, you got to watch this stuff because it's good.
Right? So think about tonality in that case. Oh my gosh, are you super excited to go to the zoo? Right? Even though mom may not want to go to the zoo and see one more giraffe one more time, right? But again, tonality plays into that. Now let's think about body language. If in a situation you're matching the other person's body language, you can actually build rapport very quickly. Now, you're probably saying, well, how do I match their body language? Well, you and I have been in rapport and fell out of rapport and went back into rapport several times. Right?
Yep.
So, did you notice that at some points, Chris and I were standing like this? Right? Now, I don't always stand this way, nor does he. Neither one of us do this either.
Yeah, I don't do this.
Because
I'm like,
this is a very closed off, body language,
and
right?
I'm investigating that person that's in front of me.
Exactly, like you're suspect in the situation. But at some points, our hands went like this. We were very much in rapport. You were also swaying a little bit, so I was starting to sway with you, right?
And Dex, the camera guy, was starting to sway.
Yeah, and then the whole video team starts to go with
everybody
us,
starts
right?
getting in that same mode,
So how do you do this? Okay, so what I want you to think about is first being very intentional with the person that's in front of you and really taking inventory on what that person looks like and how they're acting, right? What's their rate of speech? How are they sitting? How are they relating to you? I still want to do this again. And in the beginning, you're like, hold on, I'm literally going to match and mirror people.
Yeah, and I think that the thing that people understand is like even if I'm sitting and we're having a conversation, right? Like your hands could be, you see, she could be like where her hands are a little bit more interlaced and mine are over top. It's just positioning. We're just talking, and when she's kind of doing her different, we're talking and I'm kind of like basically head nodding. I'm just following her. That's all I'm doing as this. And it's not that I'm doing this intentionally. I'm just literally in the same that she is. And it takes a little bit of practice. But what Cheryl was saying is, in the beginning, you're a lot more like cognizant of that you're matching and mirroring. But what happens is, by doing this so much, you will just start following the person's kind of body language, the movements. You won't even understand because you're so deep into the conversation, you're not thinking about following. Your subconscious basically goes and starts doing all of the work. I know this sounds kind of crazy, but this is
voodoo magic, and it so works.
But in sales, every little kind of tactic or every little piece of information that you could help better a close or help better to get the conversation across is so important.
Yeah. So what I want you to think about is this. In the beginning, it will feel robotic, and that's why you're going to start with family members. So the next time you have a meal, I want you to start tuning into the body language of the people around you. Pick one person in the beginning and match their body language for a period of time. Now, it's going to feel robotic because they're going to do something like this, like scratch their face, and you're going to scratch your face, right?
Yep.
And that's going to feel really odd because you're going to be out of your own subconscious and in your conscious really thinking about what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Now, you might think to yourself, are they going to see me matching and mirroring, and therefore they're going to think this conversation got really strange?
They won't. They
No,
won't even
not
know.
at all.
And doing that, and that's the thing, they won't even know. But it's literally how, even when you're talking to somebody and they're doing their head nod, or what about this? When somebody's talking really fast, like I talk really, really fast, and so Cheryl needs to what? Back to
Talk
me.
really, really fast.
Because if she doesn't talk really, really fast, then guess what's going to happen? She's not what? Matching or mirroring me.
Yeah, we're not in rapport anymore.
Not in rapport. If Cheryl talks really slow and she's like, well, you know, I'm like, oh my God, what is wrong with this person?
He looks
I
at
gotta
his
go.
watch.
I
He
gotta
looks
go.
at his watch. He'll break physical rapport,
Yeah.
right? So he'll either turn his body away from me. I know I'm losing him. And so I have to speed up. But let's talk about pace, lead.
Yep.
Because this is really important,
Which
right?
can happen at a party, can happen actually in the shopping room. Let's do. You
Yeah.
want to do a shopping room scenario?
wanna?
Yeah, let's do a shopping room scenario. Is that good or is that all right?
Yeah, let's do a
Okay.
shopping room.
Okay.
First, let's look at how your shopping rooms are usually set up.
Yep.
Right? And they're not always the most optimum place to
No.
make sales.
No.
I actually see some consultants now are asking that the shopping room not be a child's bedroom.
Ooh, good call.
Yeah, so think about that. You've got stuffed animals and toys and little kids' prints and everything on the wall.
And then you got the fantasy collection.
Yeah. Here's our tickle
This
and wet.
is not Tinkerbell's fantasy collection either. You know what I'm saying? This is
Now, for some of you that have held parties in a closet, right, maybe a dorm room or what have you, you're sitting there going, well, sometimes the shopping room is not the optimum situation. You can make this work anywhere you are.
Yep.
But I want you to think about sometimes you'll have somebody in a seat or on the side of a bed, and you might be sitting on the floor. You're out of physical rapport. So I want you to think whatever you can do to get on the same plane, and then you're going to actually sit like your customer in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So as she walks in the room, you should get up so you're on the same plane.
Yes.
Turn your body to her, give her your full intention. We used to like to say it was stop.
Oh, yeah.
Drop.
Stop. Yeah, it's stop, drop, and look. Or no, stop. Wait, I can't.
Turn.
What is it? Stop.
Stop, drop, and turn,
Thank
right?
you. I couldn't remember. Yeah.
So stop, drop, and turn means whatever you're doing, whether you're fussing with your inventory, you're getting an order form,
pure sale, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going through your connection cards, right? You're maybe thinking of your little map that you drew so you can remember everybody's name at the party. So you want to stop what you're doing, turn to her, start physical rapport right away, and then when you both sit, try to sit on the same plane and sit like her.
So basically, don't do this. So Cheryl's walking in to buy something from me. I'm the consultant, and I'm sitting there going, "Hey, come on in. Yeah, hey, go ahead, honey. You could sit down right here. I'll get right with you. Okay. I'm just finishing this last transaction. Okay. So, honey, what would you like tonight? What was good? How was the show? Was it really good?
Yeah.
I mean, did you not have fun? I mean, I thought it was really good tonight. I mean, not fun?
Yeah, I had fun, but I don't feel like you really want to talk to me.
Yeah, exactly. And that happens sometimes, and that we see that, but that's also something to make sure that you're talking to your team. Now, that goes into kind of the discussion around pace, lead.
Yeah, so in the beginning, you're going to match this other individual that's in front of you. And you're going to match for a period of time. You will start to naturally find that you will do this subconsciously, right? So you won't have to think about it so much. Then at that point, you're matching, right? So pace, and now when you've built a rapport between that individual, when you start to move, it's often that person will now move with you.
Yes.
Now think about in sales how impactful this is, because if you can build that rapport and that person is following your lead and they feel drawn to you and that likes, so I want to do business with somebody that I like, that's powerful in closing the deal, increasing sales, getting the next party booking, maybe getting the next team member.
Which leads into how you can also use matching and mirroring in a conversation. Like, too many people are too worried about like things in front of them. Let me show you my workbook. Let me show you the different stuff that I'm here to give you. You know, like I talk to people, I'm like,
about
tell
the
me,
other things.
Yeah, I go, tell me what you're bringing when you go to do a meeting, and I'm like, and they, I got this, I got little samples, I got everything, which is great. I'm not gonna do it, but use that at the end to give them. If you need some talking points, whatever, but so many people, you should never sit with a table in between you. Absolutely not, because now you're not in rapport. Everybody's like, well, where should I meet? Try to meet where you could get into like maybe 2 chairs where you can sit across from each other. How do you make sure? And if you have to make sure that that table is somewhere, if it's a table, make sure it's a round table where you guys can kind of sit closely around that table. Because ultimately, you never want to sit across from somebody with something in between you. Now, because it's a deterrent. Now, some people are like, well, aren't all deals done, at a table? No, deals are signed at a table. Deals are not done at a table. There's a difference, and I think so many people, you think all the things that they see on TV, on boardrooms and whatever, that was done way before that they signed the deal.
Yeah, do you want to know one of my secrets? Think about when you come into a pure romance event. Oftentimes we'll use round tables, right? But at the end, or theater style, right? But at the end, people always want to talk to us. They want a little coaching on their business, maybe a little advice. I will very rarely have a conversation with a Barry in front of us, whenever possible. I'll take the chair and I will just naturally start turning my body so I'm directly facing that person. So it's interesting. Now I kind of let people into my secrets. They start to tune in on it. And I had somebody that was at national training was like, whoa, you just totally swung your chair. So like we were literally away from the table, but just in single chairs facing each other. I do it naturally now,
it's something
but it's powerful.
And that's the thing. This is going to be a lot of practice, okay? So, but it's going to get over a period of time. Remember, this is 19 years of understanding how to communicate, and right now, this is class number 3, right? So, the best part about it is, the mother of all growth is practice, right? Like just making sure you're thinking about doing. You're going to do it all the time properly? No, it's going to come in ebb and flows. But the more consistent you can be with it, the better your business will be. The better communicator that you're going to be. All right.
Intentional, I think, is really important in this conversation. So what we want you to do, especially as you're starting to learn to take this on as a practice, is be intentional in your voice and how does it sound. If you're saying you're excited, is your voice sounding excited? Your body language, is that congruent with the message you're trying to send? And I even find sometimes, remember, pace, lead, that I have to slow some things down with Chris, right? To actually help draw the conversation so he has some mental space to think things through. So it's not always about going fast, it's not always about going slow, but it's meeting that person the way they like to communicate first, and then you can walk together.
And I think that is true, and there's going to be different points. Not everybody will communicate every day the same way, and that there's some days that are going to be fast.
I always tell this story. I wonder if we tell it here. Okay, so here's the story I always tell. I wonder if you notice this. So gentlemen sit differently than women.
Gentlemen sit differently than women.
Yes, so it would be very unnatural in most cases to have a woman that leans back and puts her hands behind her head and like tips back in a chair. Happens occasionally, but usually in business settings not.
No.
How often do you sit like that?
I don't know. Do I sit that often? I do.
You do.
I do.
You do. Now,
I don't know. I don't even know.
Yeah,
There's
so
some
not
days,
in a formal business setting, but if you think about, we've been in meetings for a few hours,
and I'm 4 hours in a meeting.
And
I'm
he's
sprawled
popping,
out. Legs are everywhere. I'm
so in the beginning, when I was first learning Rapport, I had to learn how to sit like Chris Ciccanelli in a very unnatural state. Now, obviously, I was
feet up
proper.
on the desk, crossed over.
I was proper. There were some things I just would not cross the line, but I would actually be matching you, and you never seemed to notice it.
No, I didn't. And I don't even know. I forget I even sit like that. That's so funny when you guys say that.
A lot.
Because I'm always thinking that I don't sit like that.
The other day, I looked at you, and I were in a meeting. We both had our arms up over the chair, and we were 100% dead on in Rapport, and nobody else in the room was.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, and sometimes you just get into those states. So it is being mindful of the people that are around you, understanding that. That comes down to the 6 principles of influence. Now that we kind of have talked a lot about going out there, matching, mirroring, we've talked about communication, our body language, let's talk about how to go out there and build what we believe is the most important thing to leadership, which is you will only be a leader if you have followers. And the way you get followers is through influence. So there's 6 pretty core principles around influencing. And Cheryl, I know that these are things that we've talked about over a period of time.
I love this topic too, right?
So yeah, so let's go ahead and kind of jump into these if we can, and kind of go through and start off with number one, which I think is one of the most important, which is reciprocity.
Reciprocity.
Yes.
God, we do this a lot in our business, and sometimes it feels unintentional, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's because it's maybe built into our comp plan, but it's really not. So what I want you to think about is when you physically give something to somebody, they feel an obligation to give in return. Now, if you're not sure what we're talking about, I want you to think about this. You show up to the holiday party, and one of your fringe friends, somebody you don't see all the time, you don't always exchange gifts, gives you something. How do you feel?
Great.
You didn't give them anything.
No, I feel terrible.
Oh, right. Okay, so that's that law of reciprocity coming in play. That
awful.
when we feel like we've been given something, we feel the need to give in return. It's just human nature. So now I want you to think about the things you give in the business. Business cards, catalogs, foil sample packets, goodie bags, recognition to team members, like a certificate of achievement.
Donations to charities,
right? All of these things are playing with the law of influence and the law of reciprocity.
There's one key factor. Don't look for it in return. Here's why. I will tell you this year, and this is just a quick story of how the law of reciprocity can build to such a big burst for you. 19 years in the business community here in Cincinnati, building, my name, talking to so many people, donating to different foundations, different charities, giving people, friends and family members, gifts or whatever during the years. And every year, we're still one of those companies that still send our top people, gifts, and we, send all of our vendors thank you stuff. That doesn't really happen anymore. We've always done that. This year was a sign of that in this June where we launched our foundation. And this is 19 years of just doing the right thing and doing just giving, not looking for anything in return. This year when we had our foundation launch and $310,000 of different charitable back because people have said what you've done so much for us or for our businesses, our community and whatever. That's the law of reciprocity. You do right by others and you continue to keep putting things out there, it's going to come back to you. It's not if, it's only when. And that's what I tell people all the time. Some people are like, well, I gave out those foil packs and nothing happened. I gave this, I sent those, those discontinued products like you told me to some of my top people. I sent some new products out, but nothing's happened. What I'll tell you is the law of reciprocity there's not a timeline on it. It's not like once you give something out, you're going to get it in like the next 24 hours. This isn't prime, like you order today, it's going to happen tomorrow. That's the mindset that you have to understand. The law of reciprocity is a law of life. It's the things that are going to come back to you. And that's what I want to make sure that is defined when we talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think about small things like acknowledging somebody in a text message for no reason at all other than to just say, I've been thinking about you, or a thank you card, or that, just that random reach out. Now, oftentimes we call this paying it forward, right? And I think with the foundation, that's what you saw is that you were giving and helping and supporting people and using your own strengths to do that. And it came back to you over time, but you didn't enter into it with the thought of getting something in return.
No.
This is all about output with no connection to input.
That is a very, very important thing. That leads to number 2, commitment and consistency, okay? This is something that implies we tend to stick with whatever we have already chosen.
This one's really powerful because the one that we believe the most is ourselves. So as soon as we show any kind of interest, maybe a type of car we like, maybe a type of food, how we believe about the world, politics, another leader, something we believe to be true, once we choose to believe it, it's hard to get us off course. So now think about pure romance. If somebody's interested in holding a party, she'll talk her way into it and find other reasons on why she should hold a party. Same with joining the business. So this commitment and consistency means that you will stay committed and consistent to what you've already expressed interest with. So think about this. The very first question you ask somebody that's looking at the business opportunity is, what interests you most in pure romance? Why? Because it plays into this law of influence, commitment and consistency. When she states why she's interested in the business and you can keep her on that course and show her supporting evidence of how it can build that case for her in that story, she will join. You don't even have to sponsor her. She does it for herself.
You know, and I think that's important to understand is you're trying to get to the root of what people want, and that is the consistency factor. Even at a party with everything that you're doing is how do you make sure you're doing that? All right. Now let me ask you a couple thing is the number 3 is social proof. Okay, social proof means people are more likely to endorse your product, services to perform right a certain behavior that already been endorsed by a person that they trust.
Oh my God, we're a review society.
Oh.
I don't do
Social
much
proof.
of anything
I'm not going to a restaurant unless it's got 5-star. I'm not going to a hotel.
Open Table,
nothing.
Travelocity, any of these sites. Amazon.
Order shoes online, same thing.
Amazon, I'm looking at a product and I see 2,500 positive reviews. Social proof, I'm in on this, right?
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that social proof comes into play with Pure Romance is that think about the environment of a party. Yeah. People might be like, well, who goes to a Pure Romance party and who buys these products? Well, guess what? All of the other individuals that are sitting around you at a party, that is social proof, right? So all of the images that you're showing of why people want to do business with you is playing into this law of influence as well.
Well, think about this. How many times do you get done with your party and say, hey, to your hostess, would you mind giving me a video testimonial? Or, would you write something up?
People don't do this as nearly as much as they should.
We need to, because those hostesses are our testimonials put on our Facebook pages. Those are our billboard pages, right? Those are the things that people are going to go check and look at. So I highly, highly recommend that. Or somebody talking about how well you were with your product knowledge. If you really want to be known as an expert on product or expert on sexual wellness or health, then you need to make sure that you're doing just that. Now, also, too, what you got to remind yourself is using verbiage is important, okay? Most of my customers or my number 1 selling product is. The reason that you want is people are looking for those key things. Well, what is everybody else buying? And what's her number 1 product? And so just making sure as you're kind of doing this, you're planting those seeds. You're putting that into your commercial, or you're doing that into your kind of your testimonial about each and every product.
VIP groups are a great place for social proof, right?
Yep.
You get that interaction from other clients and customers, and they're going to weigh in on things. And then people that are sitting on the sidelines may jump in and do business because of the comments other people are making.
Okay, number 4, liking means we are more likely to comply with a request made by people we like. So if you refer something to me versus, say, somebody I don't know, I'm going to most likely be what? I'm going to be more inclined to go, I'm going to stay here, or I'm going to eat at this restaurant versus somebody else.
I think it's really true that opposites don't necessarily attract when you're thinking about business or doing business with people or making buying decisions. Remember we said likes. So this law of influence really speaks to that.
Yep.
If I like you, I'm going to do business with you.
Which means this, and I hate to say this to people, before you walk into somebody's home, you should do your research on how they dress, how they look. Now, some of us might be like, whoa, I dress way above that or whatever. I would just make sure that you understand what you should be looking like, because people will look at that and like, oh, she doesn't look like me, I'm not going to buy from her. Or I don't know if I could do business with her or what. And I know that that's important. So I have to watch my audience now, because when I go to colleges, I can't wear my suits anymore. I mean, I just don't. I don't even sometimes wear a sport jacket when I go there, because I got to know my audience. I got to understand that I'm in front of these folks, and I got to make sure that I'm being very, very smart.
So true.
Now, what I will tell you is I always dress professionally. So I can dress up a pair of dark jeans. I can make sure that I look the presentable part, because I always want to make sure that I'm not damaging my brand to just go to because somebody is down here as far as the way they behave or the way they act. I'm not going to meet them here, but I'm going to be very cognizant that I am going to keep my brand, but I'm not going to be all the way up here. So I got to find some happy medium. Like, I'm not going to come in with my 3-piece suit on, and I'm not going to you know what I'm saying? Because likes. It's important.
We had a really great example of this recently. We had a professional speaker that we brought in, and she had done her homework, and she really played this law of influence, because she walked in the room and she was like, hey, I saw that you played football.
Yeah.
Relating to you
right away.
Right off the rip. So what did she do? She looked at your Facebook.
Yep.
She went a little deep in there, right?
Stalked me. She knew my 6th grade girlfriend and everything.
But it was a great example of the fact that she did her research
Yeah.
to find a common point on how she could relate to you, and she did it really well. It wasn't
Yeah.
creepy.
No, it wasn't creepy.
was really cool.
Erin Garden King, she did a fantastic. I love
Yeah.
her. So, all right, number 5, authority. Oh,
Okay. So think about that old research study that they did, and they've repeated it several times since then.
Yep.
That they put the individual in a white lab coat,
yeah.
so that that individual had a sense of authority in the room, and they would run a research study to see if that person told somebody else what to do,
Yeah.
could they get them to do it. Now, I'm sure you've seen variations of this, they've updated along the way, but the old one was like the people in the chair that were taking the orders from the guy in the lab coat thought they were physically, electrically shocking
Yeah.
a person in the other room when they answered a question incorrectly.
Yeah.
And they got people to inflict pain on a stranger because of the guy in the lab coat. Okay, so we're not going to tell you to wear a lab coat.
Yeah, but think about this, right? So if you think about Crest, whitening toothpaste, dentist, #1 recommended toothpaste. Okay, great. They use the authority. How many dentists did they talk to? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're using those authoritative, like scientists say, or experts say, or research shows, or scientifically proven. People like to hear that kind of stuff. And, you know, and that's kind of stuff like research says about when you talk about lubricants, or experts say when it comes to massage, or, you know, it's scientifically proven that you need. Those are things that you could add in to your presentation, that you add those little key phrases, and people are going to pick up on that, because again, it's about having influence with others. All right, scarcity. This is my favorite.
Love this one too. Okay.
Josh's favorite.
It is a favorite at Pure Moments. I'll explain that in a moment, but here's how you use this one. I want you to think about what would happen when you stand up at a party and you say, okay, everybody, this is my last one that I have in inventory. So if you like this product, you got to make sure that you're in the shopping room first, because I'll give you a deal on this last one. But this is the only one I have. Okay, so moving on, and you go on to your next product. What happens to that product?
It goes.
Boom, 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 right? You're going to sell it like crazy. Now think about this. Pure Romance time. We've got a kit sale coming up. What happens?
It's like, we only have 500 of them. Boom, gone. It's scarcity. The law of scarcity, it's important. That's why when we give you guys the opportunity by discontinue items, or to be able to do that, that's the stuff. And tonight, you know, like some people are like, you know, I really wanted cotton candy. Well, I only have strawberry. Well, strawberry is here tonight. You might as well get it before somebody else does tonight. I can't guarantee it's going to be here by the end of the party.
Yeah.
Thinking about that. Again, this is what we talk about when we talk about our 6 principles of influence, which is reciprocity, commitment, consistency, social proof, liking, authorities, and scarcity. Now, Cheryl, I know future leaders, we got so much more good content coming their way.
So much more.
This has been fantastic. I know that it's exciting for the team to see growth and development, and we're looking forward to more and more time with you guys. So hopefully you guys continue to stay true to this, stay true to the mission, keep going out there. You are your own CEO. You are your own business owner. So we appreciate you tuning in tonight, taking the Future Leaders course, class number 3. Have a good one.